Hey ladies, how's it going?
It's going.
Hi. Well, I'm so excited to chat with y'all because I gave you a little homework a couple weeks ago. I was like asking, have you seen that Biggest Loser docu? What is it, Fit for Life? I think it's called. But
Yeah.
it just blew my mind, mostly because we were literally, Brittany had just brought it up on another topic we were chatting about in terms of like social life and losing weight and balance. And I'm like, here you go. Here's a whole docu-series on it. And did you guys find it interesting or like you were like, were you guys ever watching the show back in the day?
No, not me. I've never watched it. Didn't even know. I knew it was about like losing weight, and that's literally all I knew. I'm like, oh, it's just a show about people losing weight. Like that's it. I literally knew nothing about it. So to actually see the documentary and behind the scenes, I was like, whoa. And I also didn't know it was such like a huge phenomenon. Like they said on one of the season finales, 15 million people were viewing
Mm.
it. Like those are huge numbers.
Yeah. Yeah, I never watched the show. I mean, I knew what it was about. I had seen like pieces of it. I think someone in my family was watching it too at some point, so like I would have saw like tidbits here and there. I just knew like the aftermath. I learned about that like, just a few years ago and when I was doing like a certification for metabolism, they
Oh,
brought that up. They brought up the
really?
Biggest Loser in that. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. So as we get into our questions, I want to pick your brain on that. That's so interesting. Yeah, because I had never really watched the show, but I did hear how obviously like people went on the show and then they would gain the weight back. And I was like, well,
And then
that makes sense because they had to lose it so fast.
mhm.
What were you gonna say, Mama?
Oh, and then some. Like they gained it back and then some.
Oh, and then
Yeah.
some, and that's the thing. And I just think it's so relatable too, especially in our niches where a lot of times we're talking about weight loss and body image and diet culture. So I wanted to kind of dive into first, tell me how you guys feel about the show in terms of like, because this is one of the things the producer said. We're trying to make a show. We need to make it entertaining. Yes, I want to change lives, but I need it to be watchable at the same time. So a couple of things on there stood out to me. And I was like, there's no freaking way in real life you would ever pay anyone to literally do this. So I kind of wanted to go back and forth between like, what do you guys think were some of the more realistic things that the trainers and coaches were having them go through, and what was just for entertainment, or was it all entertainment?
My gosh, I just felt so the entertainment part thing, there was one specific lady, I can't remember her name, but she said something that I was like, wow, like that's a psychological thing. The show is called The Biggest Loser. And
Hmm.
she was like, they're making me do this or that, and they're like laughing. And then I realized in that moment, they're laughing at me.
Yeah.
They're making me look like a loser. So it was like a
Hmm.
play on the words of like the biggest loser losing weight, but also you're making them look like losers by what you're having them do and how they're acting and like on 800 calories and then, excessive working out. Like
Yeah.
they're gonna, have emotions.
Yeah.
But then, they're becoming a laughing stock because of that. And that's where the entertainment comes from. And that like play on the words, I was just like, wow, like that actually is crazy.
Absolutely nuts. And one of the things that really stood out to me was, again, not really having watched the show, I guess they went through challenges. And one of the challenges was put them in a room with all these foods that would normally be considered like their temptations. And
Mm.
here's the thing. Yes, I always tell my clients like try to get rid of anything you find, like if especially the ones who have binge eating disorder or are addicted to foods in that way, they're always thinking about food. Let's just clean your house. Like why be tempted to eat something and why have it in your face? I heard one researcher say like we weren't designed to always be having to say no to things. So just clean it out. But literally, they put them in a room all full of junk candy, all sorts of just like junk foods, but said whoever eats, was it the most, gets to go see their family or the least? I
I
can't
think it was
remember.
the most.
The most. This is just bizarre. It didn't
Yeah,
even make
didn't
sense.
make sense.
Yeah. Just
Like I get why they were wanting to do that, like build resilience to it, sure. But
Mhm.
like the way they made it like so psychological like that, like, oh, you get to see your family, you get to see your children if
Yeah,
you eat this stuff, like that just like don't. It's baffling because in what real life scenario is that going to happen?
exactly. You're going to go into a room and there's going to be piles of just candy and just
And that's going to be the reason you get to see your family? Like it just doesn't make sense.
So, in what ways do you guys feel like, because I guess some of the rules, if you succeeded, you had to lose the most weight that week. And
Mhm.
so, success for them would be like, oh my God, I lost 30 pounds this week, some ridiculous number. Whereas the producers would be like, well, we know we're successful if we can make someone cry, or if there were people passing out during
Mhm.
workouts. And I
Mhm.
just was like, there's no way someone would actually hire me again and again if I made them cry. I mean, some people like, what do you call that? Um, like rewards, like punishment rewards or whatever, I guess. But I feel like most people, they're like, no, girl, this is too much.
Yeah. They played a lot on the psychological stuff there for sure, which is just detrimental later on, which I think bothered me the most.
Mhm. Yeah, that one scene that stuck out to me the most, I forget the guy coach's name when he was like yelling at that woman like on the treadmill and was like, for 30 seconds, that's all I'm asking for 30 seconds, and just like kept going and going and going, and she kept stopping. And even Jillian Michaels was like, I have never seen him like so aggressive. Like, and then he
Terrible.
like flash forward to his interview. He's like, yeah, not my proudest moments, but you know. So that was, yeah, they're intense.
Way over the top. And I remember getting into the wellness space. I was like a huge fan of Jillian Michaels just from like I'd seen her on covers of magazines and I'd seen her on certain daytime TV shows and just her
Mhm.
work. But I guess I never knew the personality that she had, which I find it kind of funny that she wasn't even on this docuseries. Like, where are you at, girl? How come you have nothing to say now?
Right. She
Right?
was like the it trainer for a
Hmm.
long, like she was the it girl, like you said, on all the cover magazines. And now that I'm thinking about it, if I'm not mistaken, I feel like didn't she have her own reality show or was on a show?
I don't
Let me
know.
do some research. I think I want to say that she was, and I remember seeing like the way she lived, and I remember thinking like she's like a tough biatch.
Ooh, yeah, let me know because I was I was just speechless. I was like, "Oh my God. I cannot believe this gal."
But too, like I've never seen a trainer in real life treating their clients that way. And they still are successful and they still lose weight, but they are not being yelled at and berated like that. You know what I mean? And you're not a drill sergeant. Why are you yelling at their faces like that? Calm the heck down.
I would have been crying. I would have been like, "Why are you yelling at me? It's just so unnecessary." And then yeah, they're eating so little. So while she's looking that up, because I'm curious to know if Jillian Michaels did have her own show. I
She
wouldn't
did.
put it past her.
Yeah, she did. So she actually had two. The one, so I guess she got her own spin-off show from The Biggest Loser. It was only for one season. That was in 2010 called Losing It with Jillian.
Hmm.
But the one I was thinking of, she got a second one 6 years later. So in 2016, it was on E and it was called Just Jillian. And it was more about all her, like her own reality show, her personal life, showed her family life and things like
Ah.
that. Yeah. So I remember watching that when that came out.
Does it say how many seasons she got on that one?
That one was just one season as well, girl. So these viewers were not having it, it looks like.
Interesting. Yeah, because I feel like, okay, if you come off that, you have a spinoff, sounded like it didn't do well. And
Hmm.
then years later, it sounded like I was already ready to like rebrand and show who you
Hmm.
are.
And I think people are like, too late.
And now I think she does have a podcast. So I'll have to check her out and see.
Yeah, I think she does too. Let me see.
But I think it's more matter of factual. There's no like relationship building. But they said that was her natural self. Like she didn't really have to put on much for the camera. And I was like, how the hell did you
Yeah.
ever?
Keeping it real. Conversations with Jillian Michaels.
There it is. Wow. Wow. So, in terms of ladies' real life health practices, I know, Brittany, you were already touching on like some of the things of like, what would you have done differently if you were wearing those coaches' shoes? Put aside the entertainment factor. What are some of the more natural and healthy, sustainable ways that you teach your clients?
Oh gosh,
Ooh,
slow.
but if you were on TV too, it'd be fun, like a little spin if
Oh,
they were
if
on.
they were on TV?
Either or, yeah.
Oh gosh, well, just in normal life, it's slow and steady wins the race because they need to learn sustainable habits so they can keep the weight off long term. And of course,
100%.
that's still a choice. You know what I mean? Like after they leave me, if they are like, well, you know what, I'm just gonna go back to my old ways. Like, okay, but at least I did, teach them the slow and sustainable way. But
Yes.
that's first and foremost, and balance is huge.
Hmm.
Balance with what you eat, how much you eat, if you're completely restricting, it's going to bite you in the ass eventually. And like also it's just a part of like happiness and joy, to have like a cookie every once in a while.
I
You know what I
know.
mean? Like, so yeah, the slow and steady and then like balance for sure. But if it came to like entertainment, I don't know. I would really have to think about that. I feel like it would definitely be more fun directed.
Yeah, I was just thinking like, because that's everything you said, 100% on par. And I think that's why we're so close as friends in terms of like, even in business, why we love doing what we love doing. Because it's like, maybe we talk about this sometime with our content too.
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't get all the views in the world, but it is the most realistic plan of action.
Mhm.
So, some of the, you know, I guess fitness influencers I see on social media that are kind of like essentially doing this version of Biggest Loser, but on their social media channels. I find that a lot of them are making more like memes. So they're making these like parodies of if I were your trainer, I'd be like yelling in your face or I don't know, and people find it funny and it gets all kinds of views. But again, where have you actually seen a trainer yell in someone's face like that outside of the
Yeah.
army?
Yeah, exactly. Outside of the military, I've never seen that happen. And we go to the gym all the time. There's trainers all around the gym, and I'm just like, everyone's chill and they're still doing what they're supposed to. They're sweating, they're working really hard. Like, no one's yelling. No one's yelling at you like that. No one's spitting in your face, like with their mouths talking. Like,
Oh.
you're too close to me, first of all. I'd probably punch you in the face, but
I have had trainers get too close and they just smell like coffee. And I'm like, and we. But Val, I know you love taking your classes, girl. What's your experience has been like with your real life coaches and
I
trainers?
mean, I haven't had, yeah, anything like that. I mean, everyone has like their own style, you know. But like what I like with my hot yoga and hot Pilates, like there's so many different instructors, and so you can take all of these classes with each different instructor and see like who you vibe with the most.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? Some are obviously like way more aggressive than others in the terms of like their workouts are more
Hmm.
aggressive, you know, some are more like slow, some are like more spiritual. They want you to like really ground yourself and you know what I mean? Some like to have fun with it and others want you to like talk to people and meet with people. So it's like I like being able to go somewhere and have the option and kind of see who I vibe with, you know, versus
Totally.
stuck to one person and paying them and not even knowing if this is like something that I'm, you know, happy I signed up for, you know. So that's a
Exactly.
plus when it comes to those kind of classes with the different instructors.
Yeah.
have either of you guys done so I know we like the booty boot camp, that was different, but I mean like a real there's when they call it a boot camp and they're pretty like more aggressive, I guess. There's a place, I think it's called Fit Body Boot Camp or something.
Hmm.
I think it's like boot camp style. I don't know if they yell at you, but that is the only time I think in my mind, like if you're doing a boot camp is like, meant to
Mm.
be a little bit more aggressive. I wonder if they yell. I'm just curious if you guys have done that before.
No, but I've driven past that. Maybe we should sign up and find out just for the experience.
Yell at us because we want to get yelled at
What
today.
what happens in here?
That is fun. The only boot camp I know of is the infamous Barry's boot camp, and I've never seen anyone yell at anyone in those.
Huh.
So I don't know, but they are pretty aggressive workouts.
Okay, so the
Hmm.
workout's just aggressive. No one's
Yeah,
yelling at you.
yeah, but I don't ever see anyone in your face like,
Mhm.
you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've never seen it. And I've taken quite a few group classes, and I let, just like what Val was saying, like the different teachers, especially with yoga, it's so funny how different they are. Like some are more energetic and then some are more slow and spiritual, or with cycling, some make me climb 1,000 mountains and some are like, we're just gonna chill and speak. So yeah, I like the, depending on my mood, like if I have right now, we've got a hot yoga, class bundle or whatever, I'm like, oh, I'll go to this teacher today. I'll go to this instructor
Mhm.
today. Love. Well, what do you guys think are more like, well, I guess Britt would have a good answer to this. Like realistic, because they were trying to lose, what was it? The main guy who talked first, he lost like 200 pounds, I think, in I want to say like 3 to 4 months, something crazy, right? Or was it six?
I
I, w-
can't
I
remember.
should have had the data for this conversation, but my point is they took a crazy amount of weight off within a tiny, tiny, tiny
Yeah.
amount of time. Whereas, realistic time frames for fat loss, the research really tells us it's that 1 to 2 pounds a week. And I find when I tell people that they're in disbelief. And I think it's because of shows like that one.
Mhm.
Yeah. And and either way, like even say it was 6 months, that's still too short of time to be losing that amount of weight. But yeah,
Yeah.
the research says 1 to 2 pounds a week. I would say like you can get away with a little bit more when the more overweight you are, so long as
Hmm.
again you're doing it like healthy and sustainably. I would start getting concerned if you were losing like more than 5 pounds a week.
Yeah.
Like that's too much. I'd be like, we need to simmer down a little bit. And what like made me gasp a little bit was when he said, I think it was that guy saying he chose to go down to 800 calories.
Mm.
The doctor said something like this is where their calories should like tap out at, which was like I want to say 1,400 for the women and 1,200 for the men. I can't remember. Do you remember what
Hmm.
the number? But it
It was
was
something like that.
something.
Right, right.
And then the trainers were telling them to not listen to them, to the
Mhm.
doctor, and eat less. And the guy was eating 800 calories on his own.
Oh my God.
That's my breakfast.
I was
800.
about to say, and he and it was just, oh my God, I'm still so speechless because their weigh-ins, and then you see the progress of the show over I don't know, like 10, 12 seasons or whatever it was. They started with most people had, maybe 60 to 100 pounds. And then the more and more and more the show went on, it's like for the entertainment wow factor. Okay, now these people have even more serious health concerns and they need to lose 200 and 300 pounds. And it's like the weight's going up. So the weight loss per week is going up. It starts with, I think in season one, like 10, 12, 13 pounds, which is still a lot per week lost, like weigh in. And then it's jumping up to like the 20s and the third. It's insane. 20 pounds in a week. I can't even
Yeah, that
imagine.
was crazy. And it's sad to think like, yeah, they in the moment when they have those weigh-ins, you could see that they're like happy about it. But like, and then you see the process and you're like, you're absolutely miserable. And then you think, okay, after that, you gained it back. At what point did you enjoy any of that weight loss?
Mhm.
At what point did you actually enjoy what you were doing to in that space?
Yeah.
That's crazy. I remember the one of the guys saying that for like the last week he just did the master cleanse like juice that all he had was the maple syrup and lemon and cayenne for literally like a week.
And that was
That's
it.
all he had. And then he said that when he went to the doctor or whatever and did a urine test, there was blood in his urine, and the doctor's like, you are literally so dehydrated, like so.
Oof.
And then at the very end, the woman, you remember how the woman came out so frail? And then that's when America started being like,
What
whoa,
the
like this is not
hell?
like something is not right. Like that she looked
Finally.
so sick, you know?
And I think that was their last season, right? They didn't get
I
renewed after
think,
that.
I think so, yeah. And then I think shortly after that is when they started talking about like the drugs coming out or
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah.
Mm.
And I know that they got hit pretty hard now, at least in the docu, and I think in the paper about ruining their metabolic function. And I found it so interesting how they showed actual contestants saying they didn't ruin my my metabolism. It was already pretty much fucked before I got there, which is true, but they're also not helping it get better. And in fact, they're probably making it worse. But I was really surprised by how they were just like, no biggie. It was I chose to like dive into the experience. And I think some of them actually still are pretty very, they had a couple girls on there that were still very like grateful for the whole
Hmm.
experience. It's mind-boggling. Well, I kind of want to end on a couple of fun notes for what we think we want to, like any tips for how to set realistic goals for the girlies on a fitness journey or a health journey, wellness, however you like to frame it these days.
For me, I think like you can have a big goal, but you need to break that down into smaller goals. And when you do that, you do kind of have that reward system in place. Like, okay, I'm giving myself 4 weeks to walk 10,000. Like by the end of 4 weeks, I'm walking on average 10,000 steps a day. That's a small attainable goal with a time frame that you can reach. And then cool, you're like, wow, I did that. I
Yes.
do what I said I could do. And then you set another goal for another 4 weeks or another 6 weeks or whatever it is. And it doesn't have to be like weight loss specific. It could be habit specific.
Hmm.
But just proving to yourself that you can do what you say you're going to do will be a great way to start your fitness journey because you're going to feel defeated sometimes.
Hmm.
When your weight loss goal is like, I want to lose 50 pounds, you need to be one, realistic of how fast you're going to get there, and two, just remind yourself and reward yourself in the meantime with those smaller attainable goals.
On point. Yes, I completely agree with everything you just said. My biggest thing, especially, is to always celebrate even the smallest wins, reaffirming what you just said, Mama, about like enjoy the process and celebrate. I mean, it can literally be. I told myself I wanted to work out on a Saturday, and normally on Saturdays, I find myself sitting on the couch and watching TV, but today I freaking did it. You don't even have to do the whole thing. If you just did 10 minutes of it, like what does that celebration look like for you? But to also focus on non-scale victories, it's really huge. Because I'm always talking about this, but that number on the scale is not telling the whole story. So we really want to look at so many other things. What's your energy like? How is your sleep been? What's your mental mindset now that you are doing something different with your life? Do you find you're having more joyful days? Because life is always going to be throwing these really shitty curveballs. But how can we, just appreciate the wins anyways? So I think
Yeah,
I love that tip, girly.
I love
And
that.
And Miss Val, you have been on a healing journey on your own, so give us some tips, girl.
Well, I would say like how Britt said initially, the small attainable goals, like that's my first thing. Are you guys familiar with the SMART goal system? Yeah,
Hmm.
that's usually what I use, specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, time-bound goals. I feel like that really helps narrow, your goals down and make them specific. And then also a big thing for me is if you don't hit your goal, don't beat yourself up about it.
Yes.
Okay, you can always try again. I find sometimes, like, especially in the past, if I set these goals for myself and I don't hit them, I get down on myself and then I'm just like, well, fuck it. I, you
Hmm.
know, I, I messed up, whatever. And then you just kind of get into this rut and you're like, you just don't even like have the motivation to try again. But I feel like it's just really important to not beat yourself up. And like,
Hmm.
if you want to have a cookie, have a cookie.
Yeah.
If you feel like, you need to, if you're supposed to work out today, that day, but you really feel like you need rest, then choose rest. You know what I mean? And just don't beat yourself up about it, but make sure you don't fall completely off the bandwagon at the same
Hmm.
time.
I love that reminder. And you can also learn from that. Like, okay, so maybe I didn't hit that mark. So really just use the experience. Well, what can I do differently? Or how can I set myself for how can I set myself up for success differently, so that next time I want to hit this mark, we hit it,
Yeah.
girl. So, yeah. Well, thanks for watching the docu. I was like, oh my God, I have to talk about this. This is crazy. What? People actually signed up for this? Ugh, crazy, sad. And then the guy at the end was like, well, if I could redo this all over again, he said he wouldn't do it for money.
Yes.
He would change the reward. The reward is changing your life.
Mhm.
If you have experienced any weight loss hurdles in your journey, leave a comment and let us know what it was.
Yes, ma'am.
Until next time.
See ya. Thank you. Bye.
Bye.